Hello everyone, I'm Kasper from SKAARHOJ and we specialize in crafting universal controllers for a wide range of broadcast hardware. It could be cameras, video switches, routers, audio processors, you name it. In this case, we'll be looking at cameras, and as you may know, we have been working closely with Canon for quite a while to create a deep integration with their cameras using their proprietary XC protocol. So today, I have with me their flagship PTZ model, the CR-N700. It is the bigger brother of the CR-N500, which we have over here. It offers the same sensor, but for broadcast professional, it offers additional connectivity, features that you will really need for professional production. And such a high-end camera requires a high-end and precise controller. And this is why we are here today with the PTZ Extreme from SKAARHOJ. I also have the PTZ View and the Frameshot Plus with me. Those combined offer you color screens for fancy preset recall, which we'll see in a moment. Let's test it. The PTZ Extreme is connected to the CR-N700, the 500 and the 300. Let's first check those two cameras over there. So the 300, you can see it has tally enabled at the moment, and I can now pan it across the table here. We see this nice little model car that we can zoom into if we want to, and so on. I mean, this is the function of the PTZ camera, that we can do these things. We can also store presets, so I press and hold, and then I can just zoom out slightly, and then I can press and hold another one. So now I've stored two presets. I can recall this one, so you can see, yeah, quickly I can go forth and back. The PTZ camera called CR-N500, the bigger model here, same thing. We also see that it has a tally lamp that we can turn on and off. And this is something we can connect to an ATEM switcher, for instance, or any other switcher. Now we have turned off the tally light over there. And again, this is also a camera that can be controlled by the joystick. On a PTZ Extreme, we have a zoom rocker. So I can use the zoom rocker here to zoom, and I can use the joystick separately to frame the image. All right, so there we have it. The model car once again. If we turn our attention over to the PTZ View and the Frameshot Plus, then we see basically the same thing. We have a camera selector here with CR-N300, which can operate that camera. We have CR-N500 here as well. And if I press and hold this button to store the preset, you see that thumbnail is popping up there. That's really powerful feature. We are so excited about it because it actually means that you can use these thumbnails to guide your preset storage. Now, let's just go here. And I keep my hand steady. We press and hold this one to store preset. And now you can see I can switch between these two positions. These are not live images. These are thumbnails that I'm capturing. But it gives me, and any operator, any volunteer, I'm sure you have many of those in your church or your corporation or wherever you have some unexperienced people who need to be able to manage presets. And that is a super powerful feature. And it is also the feature that characterizes this combination of the PTZ View and the Frameshot Plus together as a combo controller, that they have these color screens. Finally, let's take a look at the CR-N700. This camera, just like the CR-N500 and 300, you'll select it on the camera selector and you can turn that around. So let's just see if we can frame the sports car again with this PTZ controller. And there we have it. Super nice. Yes. So on the PTZ Extreme, we have a lot of menus. The home menu gives you access to the most needed options. We have offset for white balance. Let me show you how that works. If I turn this dial, we'll see a blue tint to the image. And I can press and hold to reset. We also have shooting mode. We can turn that to manual. And that's necessary if you want to do manual iris. And we can go to the exposure mode to see this. We have iris, we have gain, we have also shutter speeds, and those modes for manual mode can be accessed when we are in the manual shooting mode. There is also a gain parameter here. We have a readout for iris, which can be controlled here, but right now we are in auto mode, which you can see by the display. It has a little bit of an icon that indicates that we do not have access to this parameter right now. It's automatically managed by the camera. We have focus position over here, which is also not available because it's currently managed by, if we go to the focus menu, the autofocus function. But these things can be changed. So you can go to manual mode. If you do so, you can see that the face detect of the advanced autofocus in this camera is now disabled. But if you are in auto mode, you have this face detect mode where you have face catch, face only, or off. And those very specific and wonderful Canon features are all available. See, this is actually one example of how we do deep integration. When we say deep integration, we mean that such as face detect is not a feature you find in every PTZ camera. We specifically implemented that for the Canon cameras, and we brought it out onto the PTZ Extreme, even though the PTZ Extreme is designed to basically accommodate many different PTZ cameras. So that is an example of how our deep integrations give you basically native control of your broadcast devices, even though we are dealing with generic broadcast controllers. All right, so over on the PTZ View and FrameShot Plus, we have basically the same things. I just want to go through the menu so you can see how it's the same 8 encoders we have up here, but we have exposure, we have color here, we have details, we have matrix, we have access to the additional 5 pages for focus, zoom, preset, trace, and system. You just see how this is rearranged a little bit because of the physical layout of this combo. But whatever I do over here also affects this one. So you see, this is truly a combo device. It's 2 different devices connected to the same network, but this one, the PTZ View, is the host controller of the FrameShot Plus and thereby integrates it to one collective whole. Let's take a look at Reactor, the software that drives the PTZ Extreme and the PTZ View and FrameShot Plus. In Reactor, which looks like this is the home screen. You find on the right side the devices we have connected to. So that would be the cameras. And adding a new camera is a really simple process. You basically press the button Add Device, and then you can search your network to discover devices. We already did that, so we have added the cameras, but you can see how the Canon cameras is popping up by network discovery. And that is usually how you can find cameras. If not, if for whatever reason they are not announced on the network, you can also go manual, and then you can search among all the cameras that we are supporting and add them. You just need to know the IP address. And when you have added cameras, they are connected by a green message here. It says connected if it is connected, obviously, and if not, it would say unconnected if you unplug it. It has device IDs, and those are numbers that are used to identify all the Canon cameras that are currently on the controller. You also see that we have an ATEM switcher added. An ATEM switcher is a device that takes the cameras in as input sources and allows you to cut between them. And it plays a role because in a moment I'll show you ATEM software control. It looks like this. And this is where basically a operator with another SKAARHOJ panel could change between input sources, or we can use this software to do the same. Let's just go back because I have a point in also adding the Blackmagic switcher to the PTZ Extreme. If we look at this part of the home screen, this holds the configuration. You usually select the generic PTZ control and then you add your PTZ cameras. And for each one of these, a specific configuration that gives them their particular choices for menu and so on will be selected. And that happens the places where you see a blue button. So this UI is really simple. You have the blue buttons to give you the configuration options that you care about, like the camera selector, where, for instance, you can change the name, the label here. So I could type in wide shot if this is my wide shot camera. So I'll just type that in and immediately it will say wide shot in the display associated with the camera instead of CR-N700. Because what does that mean to your operator? Obviously not a whole lot. Then we have this configuration. As I said, for each of the cameras, there will be a different one. And let's say that you had bird dog cameras here, then there would be a configuration for a Visca camera that you would be using, like this Visca Bird Dog Pro Class configuration, which is specially designed for the features in your bird dog camera. So that's just an example of how you can mix and match different brands. This is a special configuration for dealing with the iris of the camera. And then finally, if we scroll over here, we also have something called tally forwarding, which is a configuration. We're adding the tally index, the routing index, and those two numbers indicate which input on your video switcher or the router used for preview monitoring have you associated this camera with. So the CR-N, let me see. The 700, which is the first one, would be input number 1 on your video switcher, and the 500 is number 2 and then number 3 here. You can also add colors to it. For instance, we can select a color which will then be used on the camera selector in case we do not see this red and green thing. And by the way, what is the red and green thing? Well, this is where there is a link to the ATEM software or the ATEM switcher that we have added. Because notice right now that apparently this one is red and this one is green, and that is associated with the input numbers I told you about just before, because this is input number 1, this is input number 2, and this is input number 3. And you see input number 3 is on preview and input number 2 is on program. And if I cut, those are likely to swap around. All right. See, the cool thing about that is currently that camera number 2 is selected. This is the one we operate with the joystick. And it is so useful for me to know right now that that camera is on preview. It is likely to go on program just soon, so I can still do my framing safely. But the moment we cut over to program, it is now indicated that my selected camera is on program. I should probably be careful not to operate it because it's live. So that's what the tally information does, and this is what is so easily set up inside the PTZ Extreme, because it would allow you to connect to an ATEM system or vMix system or TriCaster system, KROS. Many different switcher systems or even routers can be added here and be used as the source of the tally information on your controller. Now, there's actually another really cool thing, and that is the routing. The routing is, when I select a camera like this one, it's supposed that something, a video router or video switcher, will bring that source up on a monitor in front of me. So for instance, when I select camera number 3, I should see it on the monitor in front of me. And something is actually happening right now, but the strange thing is, and let's just go to the ATEM software control. Somebody set this up, so when I select camera, it's actually selecting it on program. You see that? That's happening up here. Absolutely not designed, it's designed that way, but it's not supposed to be that way. So we have some cleanup we can do, and that's exciting because it gives me a chance to show you how this works. Now, the button called routing trigger, if you click this one, you're basically deciding what happens with the routing trigger, which from the camera selector, if we just scroll out here, is this index, this number 1, 2, and 3. Where are those numbers used to route a source on the screen in front of me? And that is decided by what happens when I click here. So you can see right now it is set up that the routing device name is the ATEM 2ME constellation. Okay, that's fine. But the type of routing that happens is that it routes to program. In other words, it takes the routing trigger index, the number 1, 2, and 3, and uses that to select that input on program. That's absolutely not the intention of me. So I wanted to use the auxiliary instead. So I'll select auxiliary. And then over here, I can now select which auxiliary channel should it be. It could be auxiliary 2. Okay, so now I think this is more sane in what it's doing. Apparently, it's not changing program anymore. That's a good sign. So let's just go over to the ATEM switcher and then see what about the outputs. And I would guess that this is probably output number 2. So you can see, yes, now what I just did in a snap inside of Reactor on the home screen, I changed it over so it would use auxiliary 2, output number 2 on the ATEM 2ME constellation switcher anytime I use the camera selector to select my camera. And that is supposed to come up on a monitor in front of me. So this is really how powerful Reactor is. You get these amazing integrative functions between your cameras, any different brand and model, any different video switcher system for routing, for tallying, and all that can be brought together in this simple interface where you have the fields necessary to configure all this interaction. That's just a small glimpse into the world of SKAARHOJ. We are constantly evolving these solutions and expanding our product line to offer you the best control solutions on the market. So stay tuned. And remember, with SKAARHOJ, you're always in control, and stay connected with us on social media or sign up for our newsletter and get the latest update anytime.